Coffee with Jim on November 27th, 2022. It's our weekly program about travel and adventures on the open road.
Say hello to
Live
a new
program
friend
on our Podbean channel.
on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories.
Of course, then we archive on
unknown.
Spotify and
Come
other channels.
along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.
Good morning, everyone there with our studio audience. This is, of course, a live program that we do on Sunday mornings from our offices here in Kingman, Arizona. So how's everybody doing this morning? Just can't get enough of that music from Joe and Woody and the boys of the road crew. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit of a trip to Los Angeles, California coming up. Actually, I'm headed for Burbank, California. Next week we'll be down at Auto Books, Aero Books, signing copies of books there. It's 2900 Magnolia Boulevard in Burbank. This has generally been an annual trip, but because of the apocalypse, the COVID-induced apocalypse, we haven't been out that way since 2019. It's going to be kind of an interesting trip that we're looking forward to. Auto Books, Aero Books is kind of interesting. They've moved up the street from their original location, but they've been there since in Burbank since the I guess mid 1950s, and it's really an amazing store. If you have any interest at all in automotive books, magazines, or aeronautical subjects, they got new and used books, magazines. Dating back, I have bought, one book I bought there was a 1903 book on automobile repair. Gives you any ideas. It's always a challenge. The Route 66, we've talked on this subject quite a lot, but the cities, Chicago, St. Louis, of course, Los Angeles metro area, they get kind of a short shift when it comes to Route 66 travel. Route 66 enthusiasts have a tendency to kind of overlook the cities. There's a lot to offer, and I joke about this a lot, but it's a joke that's rooted in fact. I get a little uncomfortable in any town with more than 3 stoplights. So you can imagine my tribulations that I deal with when I wander down the Cajon Pass into the LA metro area. But there's so very much to see. And with a little bit of planning, you can, we've talked about this often, you can really make a nice visit out of this. I find, like traveling Foothill Boulevard, if you do that early Sunday morning, traffic's pretty moderate. I've never found a good time yet to drive from downtown LA, the original western terminus of the highway at 7th and Broadway. I've never found a good time to make that drive out to Malibu, out to Santa Monica. But it's what you put up with. You put up with the heat crossing the desert. You expect that come July when you're driving across the Mojave Desert. You expect traffic. You plan accordingly. There's some great time capsules in the area. One of my favorite places, what we usually stay, is the Saga Motor Hotel. It's on Colorado Boulevard in Pasadena. It is an absolute what you picture in your mind a Route 66 motel or a Southern California motel of 1950s would be. The towering palm trees, the swimming pool, all of this. Great location. Since I'm going to be up in Burbank, I'm going to try a different place. I've been doing a little bit of research, and I found the Safari Motel a couple miles from the bookstore on Magnolia Boulevard. I believe the Safari is on Olive, and it dates to the 1950s. And just up the road is Talleyrand Restaurant. And apparently they've been there since the 1950s. So this is going to be a little bit of a different trip. It won't have so much of a Route 66 element. And I'm going to try a different route since I'm going to Burbank. I plan on going Victorville, Palmdale, and then Antelope Valley down that direction. I'm going to try that route for something different. The return trip Sunday morning will probably be Route 66 down Colorado Boulevard and Foothill, Monrovia, out that direction. We'll see how it goes. It's been a long, long, long time since I drove the beautiful, beautiful Angel's Crest Highway. That's something I might have to try on this trip, but we'll see how that pans out. Good morning, Miss Maggie, all the way from Lansing, Michigan. It's like I say, a little bit of trepidation with these trips. I have trouble in places with more than 3 stoplights. I just get a little claustrophobic. I'm kind of an open spaces kind of guy, and so it's going to be interesting. But every time we go to the auto books, Aero Books there in Burbank, like say the store's been there since the 1950s, and I got a little tip for you. If you visit this bookstore, try to do it early Saturday mornings. They have kind of an informal cruise in, and they have usually people, they'll bring in some stores will contribute some pastries, donuts, things of that nature. It's really intriguing because there's almost no parking at the store. You have about 4 or 5 parking spaces on the side, 4 or 5 parking spaces in the back, and then on the street. And people come and go all morning. But what makes it interesting is this is very close to Disney and, of course, Jay Leno's Garage. So you get unassuming people that are movie executives as well as locals, just neighborhood folk, bringing their cars. The diversity is astounding of the vehicles. I have seen everything there from vintage Rolls Royce Bentleys back in the 30s, early Maseratis, Model T Fords, Buick Wildcat convertibles, you name it. It really adds, it makes a really neat atmosphere. And that particular area of Burbank's really interesting. If you walk down the residential streets behind the store, it has a feel of the old Humphrey Bogart movies, the noir films. It's got a 1920s, 30s California feel, big trees and little Spanish style cottage type houses, and some interesting restaurants in there. Porto's is one that I highly recommend. As with any place, you take the time to do a bit of exploring, and it's surprising what you can find. I always make the best of wherever I end up, wherever I go. I I enjoy adventures, I enjoy exploring, and I enjoy meeting people. So this is going to be kind of a different trip. Like say I'm gonna try something a little bit different. Uh, Crossing the Mojave Desert in The game plan on the return trip is a little more complicated. I probably do Route 66, pick up Route 66 at Pasadena, and then roll east through Monrovia and all the way out to San Bernardino up to Cajon Pass. I've got plans to visit with the folks there in Barstow, Deb Hodkins at the Mother Road, Route 66 Museum there in the old Harvey House in Barstow. We'll be doing a little bit of photography in the old town of Daggett and Newberry Springs. Because of the road closures, I probably won't do much more than Ludlow. If time allows, we'll probably go through Goffs, California. I haven't been up to the museum there in quite some time, so we'll have to give that a try, see how those folks have fared and how they're doing. Unfortunately, I won't make the Saturday morning cruise in at Autobooks, Aerobooks. We'll probably be pulling out of here real early Saturday morning. Our son and his fiance are going to watch the house for the weekend. And my book signing is scheduled for about 2 o'clock. And I hope you can stop by if you're in that area. I'd sure love to visit with you and talk Route 66 and deface a book or two with a signature. I always end up bringing back a handful of books. My dearest friend, my dear wife, she always encourages me to get a Model A forward. For some reason, that's been an obsession for years. As if I don't have enough headaches with the beast. And when we were there at Autobooks last time, she picked me up a really detailed book written in the 1932, I believe it was, on how to operate, maintain, and repair your Model A Ford. Great book. She's always encouraging me to do these things. We're going to try out, like, say, Talleyrand Restaurant, dates to the 1950s. We try to find new places that we can share with you. Now, as far as the program next week, we're going to try to do it at the same time, 7 o'clock, but if that changes, I will let you know. But we have an hour difference in time. So 7 o'clock Arizona time, that means I'd be doing the program in California at 6 o'clock, I guess. But it still comes out the same in the wash now, doesn't it? We'll see how that pans out. So I'm going to try to find, if we do this from the road next week, we're going to try to find an interesting place, someplace different to do this from. You know, we mentioned the Route 66 corridor there, Foothill Boulevard and then Colorado Boulevard down through Eagle Rock, downtown Los Angeles, the old theater district. You know, I've talked on this quite a lot, but it's well worth the effort to take some time and try to find a way to negotiate through the labyrinth, if you will. It's not real hard to follow Route 66 from San Bernardino to Pasadena. It gets a little more complicated depending on which alignment of Route 66 you follow into downtown Los Angeles. The original western terminus at 7th and Broadway was in the heart of the city's theater district. And there are some just absolutely beautiful, literal movie palaces. And pretty astounding. And of course, the area went through a period of pretty bad decline. And it's being gentrified now, but it's a slow battle. And I'm sure COVID kind of set those efforts back a little bit. But another reason to do this on a Sunday morning is if you drive downtown, like on the Aurora Seco Parkway from Pasadena, and the Aurora Seco is the first kind of modern freeway west of the Mississippi, put in the late 30s, early 1940s, and it's also the only scenic byway in a major metropolitan area. Makes for a great drive. But early on Sunday morning, 7 o'clock or so, the traffic is very light. And when you get downtown, 7th and Broadway area, it's real easy to find parking. And one of my great places to go for a breakfast outing is on the Grand Central Market. I've talked a lot about Grand Central Market over the years, but this is a massive food court the building itself is an architectural masterpiece. Uh, and I think it's like 7, 8 story building, but the ground level is almost all the Grand Central Market that opened in 1917. It is, the mere words can't describe this. Think of a beverage or a food, and it's there. Uh, you've got produce vendors, you've got food vendors, coffee shops, you've got every kind of every kind of cultural stall you can imagine. Falafel stands. You've got authentic little Greek stands. You've got chocolate shops. Uh, some of the best tacos you've ever eaten in your life. And then to highlight this, to really set this off and give it a great feel, you have almost 100 years of neon signage. Uh, it's just spectacular. And there's one wall that's donated to old signage, neon signage from around Route 60, from the Los Angeles area. It's quite a spectacular place. If I get down there, we'll definitely post some pictures, some updated pictures. Now, in a perfect world, I would go down there next week and we could do Coffee with Jim live from Grand Central Market, but we'll have to see how that plays out. I can't make any promises. Right now, the only thing set in stone is getting to Burbank for a book signing at 2 o'clock at Autobooks Arrow Books on December 3rd, and they're at 2900 Magnolia Boulevard in Burbank, California. A couple other things in that area that's really interesting. The Los Angeles Zoo is just down the street a piece. Now, I mentioned the Angels Crest Highway. I got to tell you, you need to check on road conditions. It's highly recommendable. But this runs from near Burbank to Wrightwood, California. It's, a 70-some mile drive. Wintertime, they have some road closures. You get very, very high into the mountains. To give you an idea how twisted this road is, that 70-some miles is probably a 2-hour drive or better if you don't make stops. And I don't know how you can drive that road and not make stops at the scenic overlooks. It is, in my humble opinion, it's one of the top 10 most beautiful drives in the United States. And it's astounding that you're within literally, I mean, a lot of times you can look down into the metropolitan Los Angeles area, but here you are in this beautiful, picturesque mountain wilderness. Makes for it's just a tremendous drive. And at the east end is Wrightwood, and Wrightwood is a really charming village in the pines, just above Cajon Pass. And if you find yourself out that way and you're looking for a great drive, it's one I really have to recommend. A couple other updates while we've got everybody together this morning, sharing our coffee. Got a pretty good schedule coming up. Got a lot of neat things happening. See, after I get back from Burbank, we'll be meeting with Stephen Disbrow of London-based Route Trip USA. We're going to be discussing his plans for 2023. On Wednesday, the November 30th, before I leave, Mojave County Regional Tourism is hosting a meeting at 10 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, which would be 9 o'clock Pacific Time, in Needles, California, the little Route 66 community on the Colorado River. Should be a great meeting. It's a great opportunity for networking. But they'll be giving tours of the El Garces, the old railroad hotel, and then the Needles Museum, which is across the plaza. And I should be down there for that. February 11th, I believe it is. It looks like I will be speaking in Apache Junction on the evolution and the history of Route 66 in Arizona. You can find information on that on our website. In fact, my entire schedule on the Jim Hinckley's America website. It's jimhinckley'samerica.com. And I've also recently embedded 2 audio players so you can listen to archived editions of Coffee with Jim, as well as our recorded podcast, Car Talk from the Main Street of America. Both of those are available on the website. Let's see, February 13th, it looks like. Route 66 Info Fair, also in Needles, California. We'll be down there for that one. I haven't edited the schedule, but I'll be doing that this weekend. It looks like the first week in March 2023, I will be in Colorado for an interesting program conference. And we'll provide some more details on that real soon. Phase 1 of the narrated self-guided historic district walking tour that was developed by Kingman Main Street seems to be getting some rave reviews. I'm really, really proud of that venture. It's something we've been trying to do since about 2014, but better late than never, as they say. Something, if you get a chance, it starts down at the depot and kind of brings the history of the area to life, but it's not just history. We included public arts displays as well in this. So when you find a mural or a sculpture, there is something there about the artist that created it and why they created it. So those are all pretty exciting updates, at least in my corner of the world. I had a note about the Beast. How long before the Beast is on the road? Well, I got to get over. I have a tendency to be overly optimistic. To be honest, I had planned on having it on the road by now, and I can't resist. Even though I still lack a complete light system like taillights and brake lights, I can't resist. I do drive it around the block once in a while. But I'm hoping to have it on the road pretty soon. I have located a suitable donor rear differential. It's just a matter of making the time to go out, retrieve it, and the time to put it in. And working on the Beast has made something painfully clear. I'm not a kid anymore. Kind of catches up with me. It kind of brings you up to date on some of the things we got going here. I'm kind of curious on how this trip will go. I approach California trips with a bit of trepidation. And it's kind of ironic, kind of funny, really. A lot of people are intimidated by driving across the Mojave Desert. Doesn't bother me at all. Yeah, but driving around in Los Angeles, boy, sometimes I get as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. That's okay too. It's all part of the grand adventure. Uh Imogene's Hollenberger. I had a question about that from some folks. Yeah, as far as I know, it's still there. And depending how next week plans out, that is a proposed breakfast stop. We should be rolling into Victorville. If I leave early enough, around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning here in Kingman, we should be arriving at kind of a late breakfast there in Victorville. And Imogene's Hollenberger. Never judge a book by its cover. The outside, boy, she just looks rougher than a cob. It's on Route 66 across from the cement plant. Been there since the early 1950s. It was actually a small truck stop back in the heyday of Route 66. And it's an absolute roadside time capsule. And kind of partial to their fried egg sandwiches and jalapeno bacon. I don't know if they've still got that on the menu or not, but perhaps we can find out. We were kind of a loose program this morning. I hope you kind of found it interesting. And Well, I hope to see you out in California. Does anybody have any questions for me before we kind of start wrapping this thing up this morning? One more update that I should give. If you're in the Kingman, Arizona area on December 21st, the Route 66 Association of Kingman, Arizona will be hosting their monthly meet and greet. And since it's December, it'll be their annual Christmas party. It is free, it is open to the public. They do request an RSVP because seating is limited. The number to call is 928-753. Let's see, 1413. Dutton Motors Dream Machines. I have it from a good source that the catered dinner that night is going to include roasted pig and a roasted turkey. Could be interesting. And of course, I will be making a presentation after dinner about the Route 66 Centennial, Route 66 in Southwest Tourism, the recent Heartland Tour, and the Miles of Possibilities Conference. Should be a little added value for the get together. We will do this again next week, same time. We'll just if there's any changes, I promise I'll let you know. It always depends on cell service, internet access, these kind of things. But it's always good to get together and visit, beat our gums a little bit, share some coffee, talk about road trips. Until next week, unless you have some questions I can answer, anything at all, I'd sure try to find an answer for you. If not, I want to thank you for joining us. Oh, I got one more tidbit that just popped into my head. If you found the James Hinckley Facebook page, the Jim Hinckley's America page is still locked on Facebook. But if you find the James Hinckley page, I posted some pictures of the recently reopened and remodeled Calico's restaurant in Kingman, Arizona. They have set up the Route 66 room. And I was kind of honored and humbled by this, but Rhonda Chapman told me that she set that up with me in mind. And several years ago, and you can find this on our YouTube channel, we were doing live programs and at Calico's with interesting people like Mr. Colt, who did a book on the early aviation history in Arizona, as an example. If there's an interest in reviving those programs, why don't you drop me a note? Kind of curious. I got some ideas, but I'd sure like to hear yours first. Well, my friends, I think I've been beating my gums long enough and tying you up on a Sunday morning. But it's always good when we can get together. Till we meet again, my friends. Adios and vaya con Dios.
Say hello to a new friend on an old road. Take a two-lane trip of memories into mysteries unknown. Come along for the ride. Jim Hinckley's America. Jim Hinckley's America.